The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
Okay, I want to read a little bit of what President Trump said on Truth Social when it comes to this latest shooting, this time by a Border Patrol officer in Minneapolis. He said, during the 4 years, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's pretty long, but I'm going to read most of it here because it's going to dominate the hour of the news today. During the 4 years of crooked Joe Biden and Democrat failed leadership, tens of millions of illegal alien criminals poured into our country, including hundreds of thousands of convicted murderers, rapists, kidnappers, drug dealers, and terrorists. He said, I won the election in a historic landslide, and Republicans won majorities in both the House and Senate in large part because we pledged to seal the border, which we have done, and launched the largest mass deportation of illegal alien criminals in American history. He says the deportation effort is underway, and in Republican-run cities and states, these operations are going peacefully and smoothly because local law enforcement officers are allowed to work with federal counterparts. For example, in the 5 Republican-run states of Texas, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and Louisiana, ICE has arrested 150,245 criminal illegal aliens over the past year, with zero protests, riots, or chaos. Why? Because local police and ICE are cooperating with each other. So actually, I think I am going to read all of this because he's exactly right. This is Trump on Truth Social. He continued on. He said, meanwhile, Democrat-run sanctuary cities and states are refusing to cooperate with ICE, and they are actually encouraging left-wing agitators to unlawfully obstruct their operations to arrest the worst of the worst people. By doing this, Democrats are putting illegal alien criminals over tax-paying, law-abiding citizens, and they have created dangerous circumstances for everyone involved. Tragically, 2 American citizens have lost their lives as a result of this Democrat-ensured chaos. So this was a big theme over the Sunday News Talk Show, so we're going to talk about it. You are listening to the Yaffee Program. We talk faith, culture, and politics Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m., right here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. By the way, yes, it is Monday in the 10 o'clock hour. So let's do it. We have the Sunday News Shows recap. Recapping what happened, what was talked about, the interviews from the Sunday News Talk Shows, like NBC's Meet the Press, CBS Face the Nation, Fox News Sunday, and others. So you don't have to watch them. You don't have to worry about it. I give you the latest. You take Sunday off. Go to church or do what Dale Jackson does and watch Hallmark movies. I don't know why he does. That's what he does Sunday mornings. My public service to you. You're welcome. And by the way, I don't accept any taxpayer dollars to do this. So, I just want to recap a little bit what I said in the first hour before we get to some of the cuts here. 2 things can be true at the same time. Legally speaking, I'm not 100% sure this was a good shoot by this ICE officer, Border Patrol officer in Minneapolis this time. Alex Preddy was killed. Video was everywhere. That being said, it also does not mean it was a murder, as some Democrat officials are saying. There was obviously a scuffle. He was obviously interfering with ICE operations. There have been riots and everything else going on to interfere with ICE operations. And yes, despite what Tim Walz says, ICE is legitimate law enforcement. They're federal law enforcement officers. That's a fact, and it's been a fact for decades now. So Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, he was on Meet the Press, and he was trying to bring the point home, basically what Trump said, that any death like this is a tragedy, but it's also completely avoidable. And you have leaders, frankly, on both sides getting this wrong. But I'm sorry, the Democrat leadership, especially Tim Walz, has been just, it's insane. I don't have a better word for it. Insane, crazy, nutty. So go ahead if you can, Walker. Can you play Todd Blanche, cut 1 for me?
Well, I'll tell you what I don't see, and I don't see protesting happening. And this narrative that what was happening on that yesterday morning, what was protesting interrupted by ICE, is not what we see. I also do not see a single state and local law enforcement officer there to help. And that should be the narrative that we're talking about, is that what we have is ICE doing isolated operations to get criminals off the street with zero cooperation from the governor, from leadership in Congress, or from the mayor. And so when you see what we just observed, was that peaceful protesting? Of course not. That was a very violent occurrence, because ICE cannot do their job effectively when local law enforcement refuses to help. And that is what is so tragic about what happened yesterday and what's been happening in Minneapolis for the past several weeks, is that ICE is doing all of this work, doing their jobs, and local law enforcement are not being allowed to do a single thing to help. And that is dangerous.
100% right. Local law enforcement should be able to create perimeters. Because what's happening is you have people, there's sort of this theme that they're just videotaping. Well, some are with their phones, they're recording video. But others are actively impeding, getting in the way, rioting, trying to prevent ICE from doing their jobs. That's the direct opposite of what you should be doing. And if you disagree with ICE doing law enforcement, well, protest D.C. Get them to change the immigration laws. But that's not what's happening. And this is being encouraged by Democrat leadership. And they have it doesn't seem like they're going to stop anytime soon. So go ahead if you can, Walker. Play Todd Blanche, cut 2.
I can see the same video that everybody else can see, and it's been analyzed up and down for the past 24 hours. But there's obviously an investigation that's ongoing. Secretary Noem talked about that yesterday, which is what we would expect anytime a tragedy like this occurs. But I disagree with you when you say, what was there that looked as if there was a confrontation that was we don't know what happened in the minutes leading up to that, to what we just watched. We don't know what ICE saw, what ICE heard. That's part of the investigation that's going to be happening. But what we did not see, again, we cannot avoid this conversation. What we did not see is a single cop.
So one thing that I like his messaging much better than Kristi Noem's, because I played the cut of Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security Secretary, in the first hour, and she basically says that he was there to kill ICE enforcement. Alex Preddy, who was killed in the situation. That doesn't seem to be true. Why would you say that? So Todd Blanche there admits, there's an investigation that goes on. So in the specific situation, we're not sure yet if this officer acted appropriately. When I look at the video, it seems like he was resisting. They tried to tackle him. One of the officers notices he has a gun, says gun, takes the gun away, but the other officer hears gun and in the split second fears for his life and shoots him. Is that the right response? Is that with their training? I don't know. Because in a court of law, what matters is if that officer reasonably feared for his life in that situation. But that's the specific circumstance. Look at the big picture here, which Todd Blanche is doing, and which Trump did in his Truth Social. And they're just saying it doesn't even have to get to this point. There is no reason for people to be in the way of ICE trying to deport criminal illegals, which they were trying to do here. This was a dangerous criminal they were trying to get. And that, by the way, that dangerous criminal illegal immigrant got away because of all this. So that can be avoided. But you have leadership from the police, from the governor's office, from the mayor's office. The senator, I heard Amy Klobuchar, they're just saying, I should get out. No. I should not get out. You should help them. And that would avoid this. But they're putting partisan politics in this situation, trying to send a message of ICE being Gestapo, which is completely absurd, instead of doing what you should be doing, which is having local police set up a perimeter and put out a message that you might disagree with ICE, You can protest peacefully, but we have to get out of their way because they are they are federal law enforcement. Go ahead and play a Todd Blanche cut 3 for me.
No, you can't see what everything is happening. I mean, what you do see is you see several ICE officers surrounding him. You see a violent interaction with the man who was shot. And so we don't know. The video, no matter how many times you look at it, no matter how many different angles that we see, there's a lot that we don't see. And that's exactly why you have to have an investigation, which is exactly what DHS is doing and exactly what we would hope that they would do. But you can't tell exactly what happened. It was a very instant violence. These law enforcement, ICE has a very tough job. It is very hard when they're walking, trying to do their job, and there are agitators and rioters everywhere. These men and women are not protesting. They are not peacefully protesting. They are trying to impede and obstruct ICE, and it makes the job that our men and women have to do virtually impossible to do without interactions like that. And yes, yesterday's shooting was a tragedy. And yes, we feel a ton of sympathy for the family and friends of the deceased. But make no mistake about it, this was entirely avoidable. If we had a governor, if we had a mayor, if we had leadership in Washington and over Minnesota that actually cared about their citizens, this would never have happened because there would be law enforcement on the streets helping ICE.
Mr. Blanche, I just want to...
I can't disagree with a single thing he said there. There's an investigation, but it's a violent situation, and they have a very tough job because you have people actively trying to impede them. And you have Tim Walz, Governor Amy Klobuchar, the senator there, the mayor saying, ICE needs to leave. They need to get out. Would you ever say this about the FBI? Like, seriously, would you, if you had a governor say the FBI needs to leave, it would sound absurd, but because it's ICE is different, because we're enforcing immigration laws, the fact is a lot of these people, they don't like the idea of actually enforcing immigration laws. And that's part of the problem here as well. Want to get your take? We have our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. Right now, let me tell you about my good friends at Jay's Appliance Outlet. They're located over there in Athens, and I want you to go check out their showroom. Maybe not today if you're stuck in the snow, but maybe you were stuck in the snow over the weekend and you noticed your oven wasn't working right. Maybe you wanted to, I'm going to do laundry. Oh, my washer and dryer, they're not working right either. If that's the case and you need a new appliance, but you want to get it for a great price, go to Jay's Appliance Outlet. They're over there off 72 in Athens. What I want you to do is get on your phone, your mobile phone right now, and dial pound 250 and say the keyword Jay's Appliance Outlet. That's right. You can dial pound 250 and say the keyword Jay's Appliance Outlet and see some of the great deals that you can get. They're family owned. You get the kind of service there the big stores can't match. They're friendly, honest, and always there when you need them. They service what they sell as well. Jay's Appliance Outlet, where New Year savings are real and service comes standard. Go to the website, jaysapplianceal.com. And when you do, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. More of the Sunday News Show's recap next here on the Yaffee program.
The Yaffee program.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
It's back. Hey, it's Dan Bongino. I've got some big news for you. Starting February 2nd, the show is back. That's right. The Dan Bongino Show is relaunching, and we're going bigger than ever. Join me live on Rumble.com Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern. We'll cover the stories that matter, cut through all the garbage, and get to the truth. Can't catch it live? No problem. Grab the audio wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, February 2nd, the return to the Dan Bongino Show. Don't miss it.
All right, back here on the Yaffee program. I am Alabama's voice of reason, and yes, you need a voice of reason today. The world definitely needs it today because a lot of beyond reason stuff that we're talking about here. In fact, let's get to more of it. We have more of the Sunday news shows recap. Recapping what was talked about, what happened on the Sunday news talk shows like Fox News Sunday, CNN State of the Union, and others. So you don't have to watch it. I give you Sundays off. It is my public service to you. I take care of it. You're welcome. You listen to me on Mondays. You get everything. You hear everything you need to. What can I say? All right. So I was talking a little bit about some of the beyond reason Democrat response here. Here's a great example. Senator Chris Murphy, who they continue to bring in on CNN State of the Union. They continue to bring him on for some reason and then treat him like he's actually a normal human being, which he's not. But he talked about defunding ICE. So there might be a government shutdown. I hope you're all looking forward to that, a partial government shutdown, because Democrats want to now defund Department of Homeland Security and ICE over what's going on in Minneapolis. So Chris Murphy goes a step further. Play the Chris Murphy cut for me, Walker.
Can't vote to fund this lawless Department of Homeland Security. And remember, it's not just in Minnesota. They're violating the law all over the country. I spent last week in Texas where, they are locking up 2-year-old and 3-year-old kids who are here in the United States legally just for the purpose of traumatizing them. This is a nationwide campaign of lawlessness. I swore an oath to the Constitution. So did every single United States senator. We cannot fund a Department of Homeland Security that is murdering American citizens, that is traumatizing little boys and girls all across the country in violation of the law. Listen, I'm not endeavoring to fix every single problem that exists in the Department of Homeland Security, but we should only vote for a bill that puts constraints on this lawlessness, that reforms the way that they are endangering our citizens in our cities. So yes, Democrats are not going to vote to fund this version of the Department of Homeland Security. But if we can get some serious reforms that saves and protects lives in our cities, then we'll come to the table. But this is something that I think the American people demand of us right now. 70% of Americans don't support what ICE is doing, and they don't want Democrats or Republicans to fund this kind of lawlessness in our cities.
So you hear what he said there? They're just murdering people, ICE. So we have Tim Walz says ICE isn't law enforcement. They're under occupation. Jacob Fry, others say, get the F out. And now Chris Murphy says ICE is just murdering people. Oh, and they're just locking up little kids to be cruel. I saw that story once again from some of my friends on Facebook. Oh, they detained a 5-year-old. What were they doing? They didn't. Would you want to just let them go? So there was a story in New Jersey where apparently they arrested an illegal immigrant and there was a child inside his home and they left him there. So people were upset about that, the little girl. So most situations, though, when they detain an illegal immigrant, they also will detain the child at least temporarily because they don't want to leave him alone. And that's bad, too. So what's the solution? The solution to these people is just not to enforce immigration law. That's what they really want, because it's a lose-lose no matter what you do. If you arrest a criminal in any situation, do you just not arrest him because he has a kid? So you find a murderer and it's like, oh, yeah, but my kids are inside. Oh, never mind. You go back inside. Never mind, we can't arrest you. You have a kid. Isn't that insane? All right, we'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
The CJ Pearson Show.
I'm CJ Pearson, and I'm the host of The CJ Pearson Show. Every single week, we'll take on the biggest cultural, political, and moral battles in America head on. No spin, no filters, and well, no apologies. We'll break down the biggest stories shaping our culture from a Gen Z perspective that refuses to be managed, muted, or manipulated. Bold truth, real conviction, zero permission. This isn't punditry, it's a generational takeover. This is The CJ Pearson Show.
The CJ Pearson Show. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program. All right, so during What's Trending, I was saying, oh, my brother's in Nashville. He was out of power. I should probably check up and see what's going on there. Apparently, they're still out of power, and his street is still iced over. But they slept with a lot of blankets, from what I understand. That's how they're dealing with it. I don't even know. I'm so glad that isn't me. I just have to say. All right, final segment of the show here. So let's do it. The final segment of the Sunday News Shows recap. All right, so I wanted to go over some of the legal aspects of this. So I saw a great interview with Jonathan Turley on Fox News, who is their legal correspondent, I guess, or kind of one of their legal pundits, talking about the Minneapolis situation and also reacting to the fact that Tim Walz is out there claiming that ICE isn't law enforcement, that they have to go away and all of this stuff. And I thought, if you want a good voice of reason, Jonathan Turley's actually a pretty good voice of reason, at least in my opinion, on some of this stuff. So go ahead if you can. This is from Fox News Sunday. Walker, play Jonathan Turley cut one for me.
Well, it's not true. I mean, this is unfortunately politics of the lowest kind, in that the governor is saying something to the public that's simply not true. This is a shooting involving a federal officer. Federal government is allowed to conduct its own federal investigation. The state cannot dictate who or when that investigation occurs. They can have a parallel investigation. That is certainly within their right, and I can understand why they would want to do that. But when he says that they and they alone will have the final word, it's not going to happen. And it's part of the complaint against the governor that he is out there fueling a lot of this rage and encouraging people to go out in the street to film these officers, which is fine if you do it from the sidewalk. In this case, you had someone who was impeding the officers, told to get out of the street, return to the street. And we have to drill down on what actually occurred in those final moments. The legal standard here is clear. Did the officer act reasonably in these circumstances? The court does not second-guess split-second decisions. But we need to know. We have to see his hands. We have to see what happened at that moment right before an officer is heard saying gun. Mm-hmm.
So there you go. So he basically says, one, this idea in Minnesota, the officials, another irresponsible thing they're saying is that they want to do the investigation alone, that the federal government can't be involved in the investigation. Well, that's absurd. Obviously, it's not true. But he says you have to look at every aspect of it. So what happened leading up to the fact of an officer saying gun? So like I said, I mean, it's legally murky. Well, the Renee Good thing was pretty cut and dry. The officer got hit by a car, feared for his life, shot back in self-defense. This one's a little bit different, and I'll admit that. But what he said there is more of a reasonable response than what you're hearing from, say, Jacob Fry, Tim Walz, and others. Go ahead and play a Jonathan Turley cut 2 for me.
Officials there also say they're going to go to federal court tomorrow to try to get this entire operation shut down, to try to get ICE blocked. What do you think are the odds?
0. And, previously, the governor and the attorney general went in to try to stop the feds from bringing in more personnel to investigate fraud. These have absolutely no constitutional foundation. They may have some political benefit, but they have no legal recourse here in limiting the federal government. These are federal law enforcement officers. Despite what the governor said, where you told actual people to not treat them or refer to them as law enforcement, they are law enforcement officers, and they're allowed to enforce federal law.
Once again, he's exactly right. I mean, this idea, it's literally in the name, by the way. Immigration, Customs, Enforcement. They are law enforcement officers. We would never treat if you have U.S. Marshals or FBI or whatever federal agency, ATF, in a state, usually if the governor was out there, they need to leave, get the F out, we'd be like, that is insane. But because it's immigration enforcement where we're like, oh, well, they're not real law enforcement? How did we get to this point? Well, I'll tell you. There are many leaders, mostly in the Democrat Party, but not all. Some are in the Republican Party probably, who liked the idea of just having a lot of illegal immigrants come into this country, break federal law because we could use them to get votes or we could use them for cheap labor. And President Trump was elected in part on securing the border. This is a part of that. And all he's doing is enforcing the law. And a lot of people don't like that. Go ahead and play a Jonathan Turley cut 3 for me.
Well, I'm hoping that the president will not have to use the Insurrection Act. If the question is whether he can, the answer I think most clearly is yes, he can. The act is generally worded. Courts generally don't second guess. It was used during the civil rights period when Southern governors and officials also opposed the enforcement of federal law, different federal laws. This situation could be analogized to that. And what we're seeing in the city is this lack of local enforcement. You have ICE and Customs having to do crowd control in addition to trying to carry out these missions. And when the locals did take over the crime scene, by the way, they quickly lost control and they had to pull out. So all of that certainly can support that type of invocation. The danger here is that it's going to escalate this even further in terms of the tension.
I mean, he's right about that, too. All these leaders are doing is escalating further. Now, as I mentioned, Kristi Noem isn't really helping some of what she has said. Now, I wanted to play a couple cuts here from Chad Wolf, who is the former head of the Department of Homeland Security. Probably did a much better job than Kristi Noem is currently doing. But go and play Chad Wolf cut 1 for me.
Would these officers have been wearing body cameras? Will we get access to that at some point?
Well, the vast majority do not have body cameras, but as we know, there seems to be more and more video coming out. Mm-hmm. So I don't think the lack of video will be the issue here. I think we need to let the investigation play out, right? Because the FBI, if they're leading the investigation, they'll dig into all the video that we've seen, but they'll also do a lot of eyewitness testimony. We'll also try to understand what happened before. What were the instructions the officers were giving to this gentleman? And so all of this provides context. What was the threat picture like? Did they understand? Did he announce that he had a concealed weapon as he approached the officers? I assume he did not. So a lot of this is going to get taken into consideration as that investigation unfolds.
All right, there you go. So I wanted to play those because it's a more reasonable response. Unfortunately, it seems like things in Minneapolis are going to get worse before they get better. Probably see more riots, violence against ICE. All of this completely avoidable. Really is. All right, if you missed any of the show live, the podcast is up on the website, WVNN.com, anywhere podcasts are available. Try to stay warm, I guess. Hopefully you can get on the roads maybe tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow, same time. See you then.
The Yaffee Program. Get ready for The Rush with Max Crosby.
If it was going to happen, why not this year?
All-pro defensive end Max Crosby takes you beyond the field with exclusive insights.
I love when people sleep on certain people because you just know they're going to make everyone look stupid.
Moments everyone's talking about.
Hit 5 in a row, brother. We're going to the Pro Bowl again.
Come on, baby!
We've been through a lot, and we're just getting rolling.
The Rush.
It's a roller coaster of emotions.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.